The mansion of Lady Zira stood like a shining mountain at the edge of the alien city. It was made of glass towers and silver walls, guarded by machines that never slept. Inside this place lived a woman richer than kings, feared more than soldiers. She was an alien billionaire, powerful and proud, yet her heart was never at peace, because she had a child, a small boy named Aaron. Aaron was not like other children of her kind. His body was weak, his legs could not move, and his voice was soft. Many called him broken. Many laughed at his mother behind her back. Lady Zira had everything, but she could not buy respect for her child. Every day doctors came with cold hands and colder eyes. They spoke of treatments, of machines, of money, but none spoke with kindness to the boy, and every servant in the house worked for gold, not for love. Her mansion was full of people, yet it felt empty. One night, long after the sun of their world had set, Lady Zira walked silently through the long halls of her home. Her footsteps echoed, but her mind was heavy. She passed the medical room where her child slept, and then she saw something strange. The janitor, a human, was there. He was not from her world. He wore simple clothes, his hands rough from hard work. He was only hired to clean floors, to wipe walls, to be unseen. Yet now, in the quiet night, he stood by the child's bed. He was not sweeping, he was not mopping. He was whispering softly to the boy, words simple, words kind, words full of warmth, and Lady Zira stopped, hidden in the shadows. She had never seen this before. The boy's eyes, half closed with sleep, shone with a small light. A weak smile touched his face. He listened as the human spoke of the stars, of how they shine for everyone, strong or weak, rich or poor. The child laughed, a sound so rare that it cut into her heart. Lady Zira felt her chest tighten. Why was a poor human able to do what no doctor, no servant, no teacher had done? Why did her son smile at this man when all others failed? Jealousy, fear, and curiosity fought inside her. She had the power to crush empires, yet she could not make her child laugh. The human janitor then bent down. He picked up a fallen toy from the floor and placed it gently near the boy's hand. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "I will tell you about the blue oceans of Earth." The boy nodded weakly, eyes closing in peace. The janitor sighed and turned back to his mop. Lady Zira stepped forward, her eyes cold as steel. The janitor froze when he saw her. His face went pale. His hands shook. No servant dared to look into her eyes. And yet here he was, caught speaking to her son. "You," she said, her voice sharp like ice. "What are you doing here?" The janitor bowed quickly, his voice trembling. "My lady, forgive me, I was only cleaning. The boy woke, I did not mean—" "Silence," she cut him short. Her gaze moved to her son, still asleep, still smiling. That smile burned deeper into her soul. She wanted to know why. She wanted to test this man, but she could not show weakness. Not to him, not to anyone. "You are a janitor," she said slowly. "Your duty is floors, not my child, remember that." The man nodded quickly, fear in his eyes. But she did not dismiss him. Instead, she said, "Tomorrow, you will come here again." The janitor looked confused. "Again, my lady?" "Yes," she said, her tone low, dangerous. "You will return and you will clean in this room while my son is awake." The man lowered his head, not knowing why. But he obeyed. Lady Zira turned and walked away. Her steps heavy, her thoughts storming. She told herself she was only testing him, only watching. Yet in her heart she felt something strange, something she had not felt in years, hope, mixed with fear. That night she did not sleep. Her mind played again and again the sound of her son's laugh. The laugh given not by her, not by her doctors, but by a simple human janitor. And she whispered to herself, "What is this man hiding? What makes him different?" The mansion slept under silver skies, but inside its walls a dangerous game had begun. A billionaire with power, a human with kindness, and a child caught between two worlds. The first move had been made. The next would change everything. The next morning the mansion was quiet. Guards marched outside, servants whispered in the halls. But inside the child's room, the air was heavy with silence. Lady Zira sat on a silver chair near her son's bed, waiting. Her golden eyes sharp, her long hands tapping against the armrest. The janitor entered slowly, carrying his mop and bucket. His steps were soft, his head bowed low. He did not dare look at her. Last night's warning still rang in his mind. A single mistake, and his life could end. "You are late," Lady Zira said, her voice calm but dangerous. The man bowed again. "Forgive me, my lady, the guards delayed me." Her eyes narrowed, but she said nothing more. Instead, she pointed to the floor beside her child's bed. "Work," she ordered. The janitor began to mop quietly. The boy, Aaron, was awake, his weak arms resting on the blanket. His large eyes followed the man with a faint smile. The janitor, though afraid, whispered softly, "Good morning, little one, I told you I would come back." The boy's face lit up. He tried to speak, but only a small sound came out. Still, his happiness was clear. Lady Zira watched this carefully. Every small reaction of her child was like a knife in her chest. She leaned forward, her voice low. "You speak to him as if he understands." The janitor looked up for a moment, then down again. "My lady, he does understand. His heart hears what others ignore." His words surprised her, sharp but gentle. For a long moment she said nothing. The janitor kept working, dipping his mop, moving slowly, but her mind was not calm. How could this poor human, a cleaner of floors, dare to speak of her son in such a way? And yet she could not deny what she saw, her child's smile. Finally she rose from her chair, her tall figure casting a shadow over both of them. "Stop," she commanded. The janitor froze. Lady Zira looked at her child, then at the man, and she made a decision that shocked even herself. "You will no longer clean the floors of this mansion," she said. The janitor's heart sank. Was this the end? Had she decided to cast him out? But before fear could crush him, her next words struck like thunder. "From now on you will sit beside my son," she declared. "You will speak to him, tell him your stories, keep him awake, keep him smiling." The janitor raised his head, his eyes wide. "My lady, me? But I am only a janitor." Her voice turned sharp again. "Do not question me, human. Do as I say." He bowed low. "Yes, my lady." But inside his heart, confusion boiled. Why would a billionaire trust her? Only child to someone like him? What secret plan was hiding behind her cold eyes? Lady Zira walked to the door. Before leaving, she stopped and looked back. Her words cut through the room like a blade. "If you ever bring harm to him, if you ever seek gold from this, I will end you before the sun rises again." The door closed and silence returned. The janitor stood frozen. Then he turned to the boy. "Well, looks like I am in trouble, little one," he whispered with a nervous laugh. The boy smiled again, and for a moment, the fear melted, replaced by something warm. As the day passed, the janitor told small stories of Earth's rivers and its blue sky, of children who ran in green fields, of nights where stars filled the heavens. Aaron listened with wide eyes, his laughter soft, but real, echoing in the cold room. In another chamber of the mansion, Lady Zira listened through hidden screens. Her heart twisted as she heard her child laugh, her long fingers pressed hard against the table. Why? Why did this human succeed where she had failed? Her pride burned, her mind stormed, but another voice whispered inside her, "Maybe he is different. Maybe he is the one." That night, as the stars rose, she sent for the janitor again. He came, nervous, bowing low. Lady Zira poured a golden drink into 2 cups. She placed one before him, shocking him even more. "Sit," she commanded. He hesitated. "My lady, I cannot—" "Sit." Her voice cut, leaving no choice. Slowly, he sat across from her, his hands shaking. Never had a janitor shared a table with her. She studied him for a long time, every wrinkle, every scar, every humble movement. Then she asked, her voice sharp but quiet, "Why do you care for him? You are not of my kind, not of my blood." You gain nothing, yet you speak to him as if he is your own." The janitor swallowed hard. He lifted his eyes just enough to meet hers. "Because, my lady, no child should feel alone." His words were simple, but they struck like lightning. Her chest tightened, her breath caught. For years, she had buried her pain behind walls of power, and now, a poor man had spoken words that tore those walls apart. Lady Zyra leaned back, hiding the storm in her eyes. "You are bold, human, too bold," she whispered. "But perhaps boldness is what I need." She rose, her long cloak sweeping the floor. "You will return tomorrow, not as a janitor, but as something else?" The man stood, unsure. "As what, my lady?" Her lips curved into a faint smile. "That," she said, "you will soon discover." And with that, she left him in silence, his heart heavy with fear, but also something new, a strange, dangerous hope. The next morning, the mansion glowed under the light of two suns. Servants rushed through the halls carrying silver trays and crystal dishes. Guards stood tall, their weapons ready. But in the middle of all this luxury, one man felt out of place. The human janitor, once invisible, now called into a role he could not understand. He walked nervously to the child's chamber, his heart pounded with each step. Would this be the day she exposed him as a fool? Would Lady Zyra laugh at him for thinking he could matter in this world of aliens and power? When he entered the room, the boy Aaron was awake. His thin arms rested on the blanket, his big eyes waiting. The child smiled faintly when he saw the man. It was a smile that erased the janitor's fear for a moment. He knelt beside the bed and whispered, "I came back, little one, just like I promised," but Lady Zyra was already there, standing tall by the window. Her cloak shimmered like liquid metal, her face unreadable. "You will not mop today," she said coldly. The janitor lowered his head. "As you wish, my lady." "You will sit, and you will speak to him," she continued. Her voice was sharp, but her eyes burned with secret fire. The janitor obeyed, sitting at the edge of the chair near Aaron. At first he spoke softly, telling the boy about Earth's forests. He described trees that reached the skies, and rivers that sang with life. Aaron listened with wide eyes, sometimes laughing quietly. Lady Zyra stood silent, her gaze locked on both of them, but the test had only begun, because outside the door, other servants whispered, "Why him?" One asked bitterly, "He is nothing but a janitor. Why does she allow him near her child?" Their voices carried jealousy, their eyes burned with envy, and already they began to plot against the human. Inside, Lady Zyra spoke suddenly. "Tell him a story not from your world, but from your heart." The janitor froze. What did she mean? His heart was filled with pain, with memories he never shared, but her voice cut deeper. "Do not think, human, speak." So he did. He spoke of a small village on Earth, of nights when he had nothing but hunger, of the kindness of his mother who gave him her food so he could live, and how he lost her too soon, leaving him alone. His voice broke, but he continued. And Aaron listened with tears in his eyes. Lady Zyra watched sharply. Her chest tightened as she saw her child reach out with his small hand. The boy touched the janitor's arm gently as if to say, "I understand." For the first time, the billionaire mother felt powerless. She had all the gold in the galaxy, but she could never give her son what this man had just given, connection, but her pride forced her to stay silent. Instead, she tested him again. "Tell him why you are here," she said suddenly. The janitor's head bowed low. "Because I need work, my lady, nothing more." Her golden eyes narrowed. "Lies," she whispered. "You care for him, I can see it, but why?" The janitor took a breath. Finally, he spoke. "Because he reminds me of myself. A child who did not ask for pain but was given pain. A child who only wanted someone to listen." His words were heavy, filling the air like thunder. Aaron smiled. Again. And his weak voice whispered for the first time in days, "Friend." The janitor froze, his eyes wide. Lady Zyra's lips parted in shock. Her son had spoken, not to her, not to the doctors, but to this man, The silence that followed was sharp as glass. Lady Zira's mind stormed with questions. Was this human truly different, or was he playing a dangerous game? She clenched her fists, determined to find out. This was no longer kindness. This was a test of loyalty. Later that night, when the janitor left the child's side, 2 guards followed him through the hall. They pushed him against the wall, their voices full of venom. "Stay away from him," one growled. "You think you are special? You are dirt, human, nothing more." The janitor said nothing, only lowered his head and walked away. But deep inside, his resolve grew stronger. In her chamber, Lady Zira reviewed the hidden recordings of the day. She replayed the boy's smile, the single word, friend. Her heart ached with something she had long buried, but she also saw the danger, the whispers of servants, the anger of guards. If she allowed this to continue, her empire would laugh at her. Yet if she stopped it, her child would lose the one light he had found. Standing alone in the shadows, she whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning. I will test him again and again until I know the truth of his heart." The human janitor, unaware of her full plan, returned to his small empty room. He looked at his rough hands and smiled faintly. "Friend," he whispered to himself. And though he feared tomorrow, he also carried a strange new strength. For the first time in years, both the poor janitor and the alien billionaire shared the same secret thought. This human may change everything. The night was long in Lady Zira's mansion. Stars shone over the alien city. But inside her chambers, the lights never dimmed. She sat before a silver mirror, her reflection cold, her eyes tired. For a woman with power greater than kings, she looked like someone broken. Her mind replayed the sound of her son's voice. One single word, friend, spoken to a human janitor. It was a word she had longed to hear, but it had not been for her. It was for him, the stranger with rough hands and gentle voice. Lady Zira closed her eyes. Memories came back like knives. The day her child was born, the nobles whispered, "He is weak, he is broken. He will never be one of us." She had fought to protect him, but even her billions could not buy true kindness. Doctors demanded endless gold. Healers promised miracles. But in their eyes she saw only greed, never love. And the worst pain came when so-called friends mocked her. She can buy worlds, but she cannot fix her son. Her heart had turned to stone that day. She trusted no one, cared for no one. Her empire grew richer, but her soul grew colder. And now, a human janitor threatened to break those walls with nothing but simple words. The next morning, she entered Aaron's chamber. The janitor was already there, sitting on the floor, telling the boy about Earth's seas. Aaron's weak hands moved, as if he could feel the waves through the story. His soft laughter filled the room. Lady Zira stood silently, hiding her emotions. But she had made a decision. If this man was to stay, she must know the truth. She must know if his kindness was real, or if he was like all the others who wanted her wealth. When the boy fell asleep, she ordered the janitor to follow her. They walked through long silver halls until they reached a locked chamber. The door opened with her voice command, revealing a room filled with strange machines. Inside were old medical records, broken devices, and images of her child's long suffering. The janitor looked around, confused. "My lady, what is this place?" Lady Zira's golden eyes fixed on him. "This," she said, "is my shame. Every doctor, every healer, every so-called genius failed here. They took my gold, but gave me nothing. They called him hopeless. They called him cursed." Her voice cracked slightly, but she quickly hardened it again. "Tell me, human, are you also here to take? Do you think his weakness is a path to my wealth?" The janitor's chest tightened at her words. He saw her pain, hidden under armor of pride. He took a step forward, lowering his head. "My lady, I want nothing from you. I clean floors for bread. I speak to him because no child should be left in silence. If you do not believe me, send me away. But know this, I will not forget him." His words struck deep. Lady Zira turned away, hiding her trembling hands. She wanted to believe him, But fear screamed inside her. Too many had betrayed her before. Could she risk her heart again? She dismissed him coldly. "Go back to your quarters, human. I will decide your place soon." The janitor bowed and left, though his heart was heavy. That night she sat alone, staring at her sleeping child. Her long fingers brushed a lock of hair from his forehead. "Why him?" she whispered softly. "Why does he reach you when I cannot?" Her son stirred in his sleep, a faint smile on his lips, and she knew the truth she did not want to face. The boy did not need riches, he needed love, something she had forgotten how to give. Meanwhile, in the servants' quarters, the janitor lay awake. Whispers filled the hall around him, cruel voices from other staff. "They say the lady trusts him. It will not last. She will crush him soon. He is nothing. He will never belong here." The janitor closed his eyes. He had lived with such words all his life, but this time they cut deeper because now someone else's happiness depended on him. The next morning, Lady Zira made her decision. She summoned the janitor to her throne room. Dozens of servants watched as he walked in, their eyes full of hate and jealousy. Lady Zira spoke loudly, her voice echoing through the hall. "This human will remain in my house. He will stay by my son's side until I command otherwise." Gasps filled the room. Some servants bowed in silence, others whispered with anger. The janitor himself was shocked. Why had she done this publicly? Why risk her own reputation for him? Lady Zira rose from her throne, her cloak flowing like fire. Her eyes burned as she looked at him. "This is not kindness, human. This is a test. If you fail me, if you betray me, I will destroy you." Her voice was ice, but deep inside her heart, a spark of hope remained. That night, as the boy fell asleep holding the janitor's hand, Lady Zira watched silently. Her heart whispered words she could not say aloud. "Do not betray me, human. Prove that kindness still exists." The days in Lady Zira's mansion changed. Where silence once lived, now laughter sometimes filled the air. The boy Aaron smiled more. His voice grew stronger. The janitor stayed by his side, telling stories, singing small songs. And each day, Lady Zira watched, her heart torn between pride and fear, but outside her private walls whispers had begun. In the city of Silver Towers, nobles spoke with cruel tongues. "The great Lady Zira spends her time with a human janitor," they mocked. "She has lost. Her mind, her power will soon fade." At first these were only whispers, but whispers in high places travel fast. Inside the mansion the servants grew restless. Some bowed to her command, but others burned with jealousy. "Why should a human have such honor?" one hissed. "We served her for years and she never looked at us, yet this janitor walks with her child as if he belongs." Their bitterness grew like poison in the air. One evening, when the suns dipped below the horizon, Lady Zira called the janitor into her private chamber. He bowed low, afraid of her sharp golden eyes. She circled him slowly, like a predator. "Do you know what they call you in the city?" she asked. "No, my lady," he answered softly. "They call you my weakness," she said coldly. "They say you are a trick, a shame to my house. They say I am blind, letting a human sit where nobles cannot." Her words cut deep, but she was not finished. "Do you understand what danger you bring to me?" The janitor lowered his head. "Yes, my lady." "Then why do you stay?" she demanded. His voice shook, but his eyes lifted. "Because your son needs me, and if he needs me, I cannot leave, even if it means my life." Her heart flinched at his words, but she forced her face to remain hard. "You are a fool," she whispered. "Perhaps," he said, "but I would rather be a fool for kindness than wise in cruelty." That night, her mind battled itself. The world outside demanded she end this madness. But her child's soft laughter whispered otherwise. In the shadows, she whispered to herself, "How long can I protect him and protect us both?" The next day, the danger grew. Nobles gathered in her great hall, pretending to speak of trade and power. but their eyes were sharp, their tongues sharper. One leaned forward, his robe lined with jewels. "Lady Zyra, is it true that a human sits beside your son?" Another laughed softly. "A janitor, they say. Not even a warrior or scholar. What does that make your house look like, my lady?" The hall filled with cruel chuckles. Lady Zyra's eyes burned with anger, but she did not answer. She dismissed them coldly, but inside her heart shook. She knew the storm was only beginning. That evening she found the janitor again. This time she did not hide her warning. "If you stay close to him, you may be destroyed. If they cannot reach me, they will reach you. You are a human. They will crush you like an insect." The janitor looked at her calmly. "Then let them crush me, my lady, but I will not leave your child." Her breath caught at his words. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever chosen danger just to stay near her son. She turned away quickly, hiding her trembling hands. "Fool," she whispered again, but her voice was softer this time. Later that week, the whispers turned to actions. 2 nobles arrived uninvited, their guards behind them. They walked through the mansion, demanding to see the boy. Lady Zyra met them in the hall, her cloak blazing with power. "You dare enter my home without call?" she thundered. They bowed slightly, but their smiles were sharp. "We only wish to see the truth, Lady Zyra," one said smoothly. "Is it true your heir is guarded by a human janitor?" Behind her, the janitor appeared. He stood quietly, holding Aaron's chair as the boy smiled faintly. The nobles gasped in mock horror. "A human? In the house of Zyra? How low you have fallen." Their laughter echoed, cruel and cold. Lady Zyra's fury burned. But before she could answer, the janitor spoke softly. "Laugh if you wish, but remember this. He is still her son, and one day, his heart will outshine your gold." The hall grew silent. The nobles sneered, but their eyes showed surprise. No servant had ever dared speak before them. Lady Zyra's lips curved slightly, almost into a smile, but she quickly hid it. "Leave now," she ordered, her voice like thunder. "And never forget whose house you mock." When the nobles left, she turned on the janitor, her voice sharp. "You risked everything speaking like that. Do you want them to kill you?" The janitor looked at her calmly. "My lady, I do not care what happens to me, but I will not let anyone laugh at your child." Her chest tightened painfully. For a moment, she could not speak. Finally, she whispered, "You are either the bravest man I have ever met, or the most foolish." That night, as Aaron slept peacefully, Lady Zyra stood alone on the balcony. The city lights glowed like stars, but in her heart, shadows battled with fire. She whispered into the wind, "If the world chooses to laugh, let them laugh, but if he betrays me, if he is like the rest, I will burn everything he loves." Her golden eyes glowed in the dark. The test was no longer about kindness. Now it was about survival. And the dangerous attention from the outside world was only the beginning. The storm Lady Zyra feared finally arrived. The nobles who mocked her did not stay silent. They carried her secrets into the city. Soon, every market and tower buzzed with the same cruel story. The richest mother in the galaxy trusts her son to a human janitor. Laughter spread. Like fire, old enemies sharpened their knives. Her empire's council demanded answers, and whispers of rebellion began to grow. Inside the mansion, Lady Zyra's anger boiled. She struck down servants who dared to gossip. She silenced rivals with threats. But no matter how hard she fought, the rumors returned stronger than before. Even her allies began to ask questions. Has Lady Zyra grown weak? Is her heart blind? The janitor felt the tension in every corner. Guards glared at him as he walked. Servants hissed behind his back. Still, he stayed by Aaron's side, telling stories, singing soft songs. The boy's laughter grew brighter, even as the world outside grew darker. One night, Lady Zyra entered the child's chamber. Her golden eyes glowed like fire. She dismissed the guards and spoke to the janitor alone. "Do you not see what you have caused? The city laughs at me. The council plots against me all because of you. The janitor lowered his head. My lady, I never wished for this. I only wished to give your son joy. Her voice cracked with fury. Joy? I am drowning in shame. And you speak of joy? Aaron stirred weakly, his voice whispering. Mother, don't be angry, please. The sound of her son's plea cut through her rage. She turned away quickly, hiding the tears that burned her eyes. But outside the mansion, the danger sharpened. Rivals who envied her power saw their chance. They spread lies. The human plans to steal her fortune. The janitor poisons the child against his own mother. Lady Zira has lost her mind. Soon it was more than words one evening as the janitor walked through the garden with Aaron's chair. A shadow moved among the silver trees. A stone flew, striking the ground near his feet. Then another. Then another. Servants hiding in the dark hissed at him. Leave this place, human, before you destroy us all. The janitor stood still, his hands gripping the chair. He whispered to Aaron, Don't be afraid. Though fear clawed at his own heart, he would not show it. Later that night, Lady Zira saw the bruises on his arm. Her anger flared. Who dared touch you? She demanded. The janitor shook his head. It does not matter, my lady. I will not leave your son. Her golden eyes burned with fire and confusion. Why? Why do you risk everything for him? You could run. You could hide. No one would blame you. The janitor lifted his gaze slowly. Because no one else will stay, and because he trusts me, I cannot betray that trust. Her heart trembled at his words, but before she could answer, alarms thundered through the halls. The mansions, guards rushed in shouting, Attackers at the gates! Enemies had come. Rival nobles, masked by darkness, sent mercenaries to break her pride. Their goal was not gold but shame. If they harmed her child, if they killed the human, her power would collapse in a single night. The battle outside shook. The walls. Lady Zira rushed to protect her son. But before she reached the chamber, the door burst open. 2 attackers stormed in, their blades glowing red. The janitor stood between them and the child. He had no weapon, no armor, only his own body. Stay behind me, he whispered to Aaron. Fear burned in his chest, but he did not move. The attackers laughed. A janitor defends the heir of Zira? This will be easy. They raised their blades, but the janitor grabbed a metal pole from the bed's frame. He swung with desperate strength, blocking the strike. Pain cut his arm, but he did not fall. Lady Zira arrived just in time. Her power, flared golden energy blasting through the room. The attackers fell, their bodies broken by her rage. She stood trembling, her cloak torn, her breath heavy. Her eyes fell on the janitor, bleeding but still standing in front of her son. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Then Aaron whispered weakly, Friend, brave. The boy's voice, soft but clear, struck Lady Zira's heart. She looked at the human, her voice shaking. You shielded him, even against death. Why? You owe us nothing. The janitor bowed, though blood dripped from his arm. My lady, I am only a man, but some things are worth more than life. Your son's smile is one of them. Her pride shattered in that moment. For the first time in years, tears fell from her golden eyes. She whispered softly, almost to herself. Perhaps you are not a weakness. Perhaps you are my strength. But outside, the storm had only grown stronger. The council demanded her presence. Rivals called for her downfall, and the world watched to see what choice she would make. Would she betray the janitor to save her empire, or stand beside him and risk war? The council hall was a mountain of glass and gold. It stood at the heart of the alien city, where rulers of empires gathered. Inside, hundreds of eyes burned with judgment. Lady Zira entered, her cloak flowing behind her. Her son's chair pushed gently by the human janitor. Whispers filled the vast chamber. There he is. The janitor. A human dares to stand here? The lady has lost her mind. Their voices were cruel. their laughter sharper than blades. At the center stood the high throne. The council leader rose, his voice booming. Lady Zira, you are accused of disgrace. You bring shame to this empire by placing your heir in the hands of a human servant. Explain yourself or surrender your seat of power. The hall fell silent. Every noble leaned forward, waiting. Would she deny the janitor? Would she cast him aside to save her crown? Lady Zira's golden eyes scanned the crowd. She felt their hate, their greed, their hunger for her fall. For years she had lived with cold pride, but now her heart burned with something new. She looked at her son, fragile but smiling. She looked at the janitor standing quietly behind, still bruised from the attack, and she made her choice. She stepped forward, her voice clear. Yes, I trusted a human. Yes, he is a janitor. Poor and unknown, but he gave my son something no one here ever could. Hope. Gasps shook the hall. Nobles hissed in fury. The council leader sneered. Hope? Hope cannot rule an empire. Her voice rose like thunder. No, but love can save one. You mock me, you call me weak. Yet none of you have ever held a dying child. None of you have ever watched greed steal every smile. And none of you have ever seen a man with nothing give everything. The janitor's eyes widened. He had never heard such words from her before. Even Aaron lifted his head proudly, whispering, Mother. The council roared with anger. This is madness, one shouted. She will bring ruin on us all. Another cried. But Lady Zira silenced them with a raised hand. If my empire cannot survive kindness, then let it fall, but I will not betray. The only one who proved true, the leader slammed his staff against the floor. Then you stand against us, Lady Zira? Do you choose the human over your throne? The chamber froze. This was the breaking point, the final moment. If she denied the janitor now, all would be forgiven. If she chose him, she risked everything. Lady Zira turned slowly, her golden eyes meeting the janitor's. For years, her life had been filled with walls of pride and fear. But now, standing before the world, she spoke the words that shattered them all. I choose him, she declared. Her voice echoed through the glass chamber like a storm. He is protector. Of my son, he is guardian of my house. He is proof that even in weakness, strength can be born. The hall exploded in chaos. Some nobles screamed in rage, others laughed with scorn, but among the noise, something else stirred. A few voices whispered, in awe, a human. Trusted by Zira? Perhaps this changes everything. The janitor bowed low, tears in his eyes. My lady, I am unworthy of such honor. But Aaron's weak hand reached out, gripping his sleeve. You are my friend, the boy whispered. And those words silenced the janitor's doubts. The council leader's face darkened. This choice will bring war, Lady Zira. She stood tall, her cloak blazing like fire. Then let war come. But know this, I will not bend to cruelty. I will not abandon love. Guards rushed forward, weapons raised, but Lady Zira's power flared. Golden light burst from her hands, throwing them back. The hall shook, glass walls trembling. Her voice roared through the chamber. Let the galaxy see. I do not fear you. I stand with my child and with the human who saved him. The nobles shrank back, their courage broken. Some fled. Others whispered behind trembling hands. But the decision had been made. The line had been drawn. As the council scattered, Lady Zira turned to the janitor, her eyes softer than he had ever seen. You gave him laughter. You gave him courage. Now you have given me something I thought I lost forever. Faith. The janitor bowed deeply. My lady, I only gave what I could. It was your son who gave me purpose. That night, back in the mansion, the air was different. Servants walked in silence, afraid. But in the child's chamber, warmth filled the room. Aaron laughed as the janitor told another story, and Lady Zira sat beside them, her heart lighter than the stars. Yet beyond the mansion walls, the world shifted. Enemies gathered, rivals plotted. The council licked its wounds and sharpened its claws. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. Lady Zira stood at the window, gazing at the city below. Her golden eyes glowed with fierce light. "They will come for us," she whispered, "but now we are not alone."